Have you ever screwed up really badly and you just wish that you can share it because it's really funny or just a good story? Well, today we're going to go through r/today I effed up and read some of those stories. Today I effed up by using 100% pineapple juice as a chaser. So this happened last night. My fiance went out and got some alcohol. He came back with 100% pineapple juice as a chaser. It tasted pretty good, even though I don't really enjoy pineapple. I ended up drinking 1 can of it and my fiance drank 4. Today when I woke up, my stomach was hurting and I ran to the bathroom. Cue one of the worst poops I have ever taken in my life. It hurt and it just kept coming. The amount of poop that came out of my body was insane. I was concerned when I looked in the toilet. My poor fiance is having a much worse time than me. Explosive, fiery pain poop is shooting from his body every hour. He had 4 cans, so I can only imagine it's 4 times worse. The screams, the horrible screams. So yeah, don't use 100% pineapple juice as a chaser, no matter how good it tastes. I don't know what was in that pineapple juice, but that sounds like a massive screw up and extremely painful. Today I effed up by asking my grandma to take pictures of me. So to add some context, I'm a Muslim woman and I wear a hijab. On the other side, my grandma is the most white looking person and looks like a Karen. So me and my grandma were on a book shopping trip. I asked my grandma to take pictures of me during the trip and she took the job super seriously, which I love, but it led to this real awkward situation. I was minding my business looking for books, and I assumed that my grandma was doing the same somewhere else since we both love reading, but have opposing tastes. No, she was hiding from me and taking pictures. Well, some guy thought that she was stalking me and being a racist. He got the bookstore owner involved and did also call the cops. He also started to hang super close to me. I was completely oblivious to what was happening around me and thought that the guy was a creep for following me around. The cops came and talked to us and it got resolved quickly, but it was so awkward. To be fair, he's done well in trying to address the situation that he thought was going on. He just didn't have the full story, but I do imagine it looked pretty creepy from his perspective. And so it's a good thing that he's sticking up for random people, and luckily this all got solved without any issues, so big screw up, but it's okay. Today I effed up by driving my wife's truck to the store. Obligatory not today, but happened 2 days ago, with the screw up being discovered tonight. I drive a relatively small car as I really don't need much space on a daily basis. I occasionally need to pick up my stepchildren from school or take them to appointments, or just drive them around when they drive my wife up the wall. It will, in a pinch, fit my stepchildren and our newborn son, but my newborn son's car seat takes up a lot of space and it makes the rear seat cramped. To that end, my wife has a bigger truck, a 1989 Chevy Suburban, if it matters, for driving the whole family around, and our son's car seat usually stays in that truck. Even if we don't have my stepchildren, we tend to take the truck if we need to go somewhere with our son, as it's easier than pulling the car seat out of the truck. We don't generally drive the truck daily, because it doesn't get great gas mileage and it's really damn big. Last Sunday, just 2 days ago, I needed to go and get some things from the store. My wife wanted to come along, so we needed to bring our son along too, as newborns cannot be safely left alone. We got in the truck and we took it to the store and got what we needed. Because my wife really can't help with the unloading the groceries, I unloaded the truck. I made multiple trips and when I was done, I closed the back doors. The next 2 days I went to work in my car and my wife didn't need to go anywhere, so we haven't been in the truck for 2 days. Tonight, I was taking the garbage to the curb for tomorrow morning's pickup when I saw something moving in my wife's truck. There is a neighborhood cat that likes to roam the neighborhood during the day, and we've had to kick him out of our house more than once. He's not shy and he will happily explore anything he sees. That includes, as it turns out, my wife's truck. While I was unloading the groceries, this poor cat decided to explore my wife's truck. I didn't bother checking the truck when I closed the door, so I didn't notice when this poor cat got stuck. As this poor cat got stuck for 2 days, he understandably soiled my wife's truck. I quickly returned him to his owner, who understood and had the same experience himself, and then had to drive the truck to the nearest car wash to shampoo the carpets and seats. This is not where I thought this story was going, but that's super unfortunate. I'm glad that the cat's alright and that the worst that happened is just that they soiled the seat. Now, I know like tearing up the carpet or anything trying to get out. Today I effed up by unintentionally making a woman think I was trying to kidnap her. To set the scene, at the time there was a storm with strong gusts of wind. mostly only around 50 miles per hour, but a few up to 75 miles per hour. It was around 5 p.m, so quite early, but already fully dark. I, 19M, was visiting my parents for the weekend, and I went out to buy some groceries. As I was driving back to their house, I saw a woman walking down the street with a limp, nearly falling over with every gust of wind. She stopped for a minute to rest against a wall, and I rolled my window down and asked if she was alright. She said she tripped and sprained her ankle quite badly, but her bus stop was only a few hundred meters from her house, so she was going to just tough out the walk home. I was worried she'd fall over and get more seriously injured, so I offered her a lift home. Now here's where I fumbled. She said no thanks, saying she didn't want to be a bother, which I took at face value. I said it'd be no problem for me, and when she said no a second time, I said I insisted. After about a minute of back and forth, I got a better look at her face and noticed she seemed quite anxious, which is when I realized she probably didn't like the idea of getting into a random stranger's car alone, especially while already injured. I panicked and stupidly said I wasn't trying to kidnap her while laughing awkwardly, which made her give me a horrified glance. I just mumbled that if she was sure she didn't want a lift, that was fine, and I hoped her ankle would get well soon, as she nervously hobbled away into the dark. I do hope she saw this as a, he's probably trying to be nice, but better safe than sorry, rather than thinking she narrowly escaped ending up being chained to a radiator. I feel so bad for scaring her. Oof. Yeah, I completely understand this person trying to be nice, but when you're in a car, and especially with someone who's more on the vulnerable side, insisting and trying to make them get in your car, it's not a good look. Today I effed up by apologizing to a regular customer for being awkward because they're so attractive. Disclaimer, this happened several years ago, but I was reminded of it today. In college, I worked as a barista near a hospital, and lots of the hospital staff were regular customers. After graduating med school, doctors would complete their residency program where they practice under the supervision of a more senior attending physician before becoming a fully fledged doctor able to practice without supervision. Over the years, many residents finished their programs and moved elsewhere, never to be seen in the coffee shop again. This is important later. One of the regulars at the coffee shop was this gorgeous resident who was always friendly and kind. I was young, dumb, and smitten, which resulted in being nervous when he would show up. My barista friend group went out one night, and this resident was at the same bar/restaurant with a group of other doctors in residency programs. We chatted for a minute, and he shared that he had just finished the hospital rotation for his residency. I misinterpreted this to mean he finished his residency. Since he wouldn't be around anymore, I apologized for being so awkward when he was at the coffee shop, explaining it was just because he was so attractive I would get nervous. He laughed and said not to worry about. Then we went our separate ways for the rest of the night. I graduated college about a year later and got an office job in one of the hospital's clinics on the other side of town. My first day, the manager was walking me around and introducing me to all the staff, including the very handsome resident. Turns out he was still in his residency program and had finished his inpatient rotation at the main hospital location. He was doing an outpatient rotation 3 times a week at the clinic where I got hired. It was about a year later when he actually finished his residency and moved out of state. He never treated me differently or brought anything up, but I was mortified. I'm sure he didn't take it too bad. I mean, people enjoy being complimented, but clearly they didn't take it too bad. They didn't think it was awkward, so I think that was more just the internal, like, oh god, what have I done, rather than being the biggest F-up in the world. Today I effed up by treating someone as a threat. Today I effed up. I, female 26, went to my still new-to-me workplace, only been there 2 weeks. It is still dark out when I get to work this time of year. I get out of my car and head to the door to go to work. A man comes running over, and I cannot see who it is because of the spotlights behind him. I get a little freaked out because he is coming right at me. He starts asking for my phone. I've had a few run-ins with people trying to use this trick on me in other places in town. I do not look at him because I have found people use eye contact as an opening to demand more or to get more bold. He keeps asking for my phone, and I say, sorry, no, and walk faster to the door trying to get away. He then yells, wait, I am your co-worker. I feel completely embarrassed now, and look at him. I see him all the time in the lunchroom. I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you, and let him use my phone. Now it is awkward in the lunchroom. I hope he doesn't tell too many people, lol. I think this is one of those situations of us males not recognizing that for a female, especially one where you can't exactly tell what's going on, what we consider normal can be seen as like creepy or dangerous, because you don't know who's coming at you, and we say the same things for completely different reasons, and that's probably why the more dangerous people say those things. Today I effed up by telling my sister her first tattoo is bad. Nothing came of it, but basically my little sister has been making really tough decisions lately. I don't really have an issue with tattoos, but I can tell by the end result that she didn't do her research on what tattoo artist she used. She didn't tell me about it beforehand, or I would have referred her to some great ones. Instead, she went to our local shop that's known for their piercings, but their tattoo artists are very subpar. Her tattoo is supposed to match my dad's, but it looks like a great value knockoff. I called her after she sent a photo, and I shouldn't have. I should have taken a second to process it, but I was, for a lack of better word, in shock. She asked what I thought of it, and I asked if I could be honest. I said it was just not it for me, and she asked why, and it somewhat came out, although not even close to the extent what I was thinking. I told her that the number in the center, my dad's lucky number, wasn't centered, and the line work was just not great. I feel like crap because I immediately was like, she's gonna have this for the rest of her life, and told her that all that matters is if she's happy with it though, and asked her if she likes it. She said that she freaks with it, and I switched my attitude and tried to be supportive, but oh my life, that is bad. Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite the thing with tattoos. I mean, I have tattoos there, and like, there's a difference in the quality not being good, and also just not being a tattoo that you would get. Hopefully that doesn't play in her mind too much, but hopefully if it does, there's a solid tattoo removal place that can take that off for her, and maybe she can get it redone. Today I effed up by getting too drunk at a work party. So last night we were celebrating a workmate's leaving party. I, 20th, and my friend were the first to arrive to the bar. We were there at 6 p.m. Bad idea, the party was supposed to start at 8 p.m. So we started drinking pretty early, and I was hammered by the time everyone showed up. I also did a little weed, which made it worse. 7 Long Islands and 2 shots in, and I could barely stand. Don't remember 70% of what happened last night, but at work, the stories I've heard from my co-workers and the embarrassment that came along with it was crazy. I was hitting on almost everyone at the party, including a married man in his late 30s who was accompanied by his pregnant wife. Showed everyone my weed, it is not legal in the country I'm in, then asked my managers to hold my weed for me because I didn't want to get caught. I'm not close to my managers and super introverted at work. Went around asking everyone to roll me a joint, even after being denied multiple times. I feel poopy and embarrassed because that night has probably got people at my workplace thinking that I'm a stoner/alcoholic who's got no self-control and lives a similar lifestyle, which really isn't me. I just come from a conservative family and tend to go crazy at every opportunity I get once in a while. Apparently I upset a few co-workers with how drunk I was because they had to babysit me. I was sent home by my manager at around 9:30 because I fell on the floor. I'm thinking about finding a new job because of this. It's definitely something you probably shouldn't do, especially if this is like the first work party, you know, maybe ease into it, and then once everyone's comfortable, if you go a little bit more wild, people are happy to look after everyone. I mean, don't get me wrong, you're kind of out to a bar, you're meant to have fun, but maybe try to keep your wits about you so that this stuff doesn't happen. Today I effed up by hiding the keys. This F-up was over the weekend and not today, but still dealing with the aftermath. Myself and my boyfriend got drunk this weekend. We've been dealing with some issues involving other people we know and wanted to forget about it for a day at least. At some point, he wanted to make sure we didn't drive anywhere. He asked me to hide the keys. This is the F-up. I have absolutely no recollection of this conversation or hiding them. I remember the whole rest of the day just blanking on this one very important detail. And I hid them well. So in fact, we still don't know where they are. We've looked everywhere, twice. But at least I found the spare keys. Those weren't hidden at all. This is quite the F-up. I mean, if you go by TV show logic, all you have to do is get really, really drunk again, and you'll magically know where you put them. I mean, let me know if that works for you, but also not really recommending it. Today I effed up by trying to impress my friends with a DIY backyard project, and it turned into a neighborhood disaster. So last weekend, I decided to impress my friends and neighbors by building a cool backyard fire pit. I thought it would be a perfect way to bring everyone together for a barbecue. I watched a bunch of tutorials online and thought it would be a breeze. Buy some stones, stack them, add a bit of gravel, and boom, instant backyard oasis. While I did buy the stones and gravel, what I didn't account for was how close my fire pit would be to the overgrown brush behind my fence. I had no idea that the brush had grown into a giant pile of dry leaves and twigs that were basically just waiting for a spark. I also had no idea that I should have been a bit more careful with the placement, so after lighting a fire, I was sitting back, feeling like a total backyard hero, until the fire spread to the brush. Within minutes, the entire side of my yard was on fire. The smoke was thick enough to make it look like something out of a disaster movie, and as I was watching my neighbors scramble to grab their hoses, to make it worse, I didn't have a hose of my own, so I had to sprint to the neighbor's house, begging them for water, while trying to stay calm, but mostly failing. The fire department showed up, my backyard now looks like a war zone, and I lost a few plants. But the best part? The neighborhood Facebook group blew up with memes about my do-it-yourself disaster. From the sounds of it, because you didn't include anything other than your destroyed backyard, I'm gonna hope that you didn't burn down anyone else's house or anything like that. And so hopefully this is just like a little screw up that hasn't endangered anyone else or anything like that. So just be careful next time you're playing with fire. Today I effed up by lifting weights at work. So I, 32M, work remotely for my job. My job isn't in IT, but I coordinate with IT a lot for system updates, reporting, and testing. Because of this, it's a lot of clicking run and having to wait a few minutes for the needed output. By the nature of my job, I have little windows of downtime throughout the day. To try to be productive, I've started lifting weights as the system runs. I keep the weights next to my desk so I can do one rep, work a bit as I rest, and then do another rep when the system starts running again. It's been great for my health and keeps me active as I work in my office. Last Saturday, I was doing an all-day smoke test for a system update to my module. The test environment was super slow, so I figured I would get some lifts in. I was actually at the point where I could increase the weight, so I was ready to push myself a bit. My first set was tough, and I had trouble finishing out. I pushed myself and completed the set. I was proud that I'd finished up, but knew I had to go reduce the weight for the next set. Here's where I screwed up. I forgot that I was on an all-day support call with IT and other module owners. Also, I forgot to mute myself. In my defense, we were all on call, so if we needed help, we could just ask the group. No one was talking or anything. We were supposed to all be on mute doing our testing. I stupidly forgot to mute myself while doing rhythmic exercise. There was definite grunting, and at one point I muttered, "Come on, you've got this," to myself. When I sat back at my desk, I saw a few people on the IT team, as well as other module owners, had sent me IMs saying I was unmuted. 2 guys that I'm friends with messaged me, "Yeah man, you got this," and "Pinch the loaf, dude." I sent an apology message to whoever reached out. Thank God my boss was inactive at the point, so didn't notice. In their defense, my IT friends did a good job covering when the boss logged back on and asked for an update. I mean, good on you for working out, but yeah, that mute button does come in handy. Because of the nature of a remote job, would they have been too mad if you were keeping healthy in between like the running? I mean, you're supposed to do exercises and stay fit even at like a regular office job. I mean, I don't really know, but I'm glad that everyone's covering for you. Alright, well I think that's enough screw ups for today, so like the video, watch the next one, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you in another one.